as a digital learning approach during and beyond the pandemic? Second, what factors are generated to represent students who share similar patterns of thoughts regarding design thinking? And lastly, how are the different factors characterized? The theoretical framework is design thinking. It is a methodology for creative problem solving with an emphasis on empathy as a skill to solve the wicked problem. Adopted from the Stanford School of Innovation, the design thinking approach is used as a theoretical framework for leveraging students' human-centric learning. This research was also inspired by CSB's swift response to the school closure in 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic has been a major disruption in the field of education, forcing colleges and universities to quickly shift to fully online instruction. The De La Salle College of St. Benilde, as we all witness, has risen to these challenges through assessment, strategic planning, and establishment of a robust education continuity plan. As VCA Lacson said, and I quote, "It is all about providing the platforms where imagination can run free and creativity and innovation can happen. We also provide grants to faculty to do research and create learning materials for the students. In Benilde, it is about providing the community with the tools to say, yes, it can be done," close quote. Thus, this research was conceptualized. The design thinking approach. First, empathize and define. The college has embraced future-proof education, with its faculty being empowered to reimagine education and harness innovative resources. Teachers undergo Be Connected training to help them transition and design learner-centered educational experiences, ultimately leading to more effective student learning. We empathize with the students. Empathy sees where the students are and how they can be helped academically to satisfy the learning course outcomes. Second is ideation. It starts with creative and critical thinking, finding the best solution to the problem at hand. Brainstorming with the teachers led to the coming out with modules for 14 weeks, corresponding to the number of weeks in regular school term. The final output of the course is an original design thinking project that showcases students' creativity and design skills in empathy. The area also proposed a learning pack that includes all the resources needed to run a pre-think course. Teaching strategies contain varying degrees of designing PowerPoint and lecture video presentation. The course also used a progress bar to display the students' level of task accomplishment, which is further enhanced by the releasing of badges once the activities are finished. Third is prototype. The different proposed solutions serve as the guide for the course design. A learning pack was produced with 2 faculty members leading the group in the materials development and was presented to the community for their scrutiny and evaluation. And lastly, iterate. Several iterations were done to improve the original course design. After the learning pack received the area's approval, the entire material was uploaded on the Pre-think Sandbox for course import. It started to run the first term of academic year 22-23 with 11 faculty members using the design thinking product. The teachers are still free to make modifications to the content as needed. The methodology. This research is a Q methodology study. Q is a mixed method, a qualitative method using quantitative factor analysis in analyzing qualitative data. Sampling is stratified. Q studies chose participants based on stratified sampling rather than random sampling. P-set in Q, participants in Q study is called P-set. So the participants are the 25 pre-think students selected from the 151 respondents who completed the survey on time. The critique statements or perspectives of students is called the Q set. We selected 36 concourse statements, and these 36 statements were taken from a close to 1,000 statements or viewpoints of students about design thinking. These concourse statements will be sorted in a Q-sort grid. This is a quasi-normal distribution or a forced distribution to make the P-set or the participant think harder to make a judgment of one concourse statement from one another based on an even small differences that might be ignored under free distribution. And then the software that we use is a PQM software, Q factor analysis software, which was used in processing the data. Results of Q factor analysis and correlation were analyzed to identify, describe, and give names to the factors or groups of students. The next we have here, participants will sort the 36 statements in the Q-sort grid according to their degree of agreement or disagreement to the statement. Sorting has two stages. The first stage is the pre-sorting of the 36 Q set in 3 decks, not yet in the Q-sort grid. You will see on the screen 3 decks. The deck on the left is for the statements which they disagree. The middle deck is for the neutral, and the right deck is for the agree. 10 participants did synchronous sorting, while 15 did it asynchronously. This figure is an example of a pre-sorting done by one participant. She placed 3 statements on the disagree deck, 5 on the neutral, and 28 on the agree deck. Stage 2 is the final sorting. This time, participants will place the 36 statements in the quasi-normal distribution with 15 spaces for the disagree, 6 spaces for the neutral, and 15 spaces for the agree. This time, they will be forced to think harder where to place the statements. After reflecting on the placement of the statement several times, and if the participant is already satisfied, the last step is to click Submit Q-sort so that the data will be automatically analyzed by the PQM software. Each of the completed Q-sort, the one you see on the screen, is a record of one's perception about design thinking as used in their philosophy course critique during and possibly beyond the COVID-19 pandemic. So we have 25 of these. Next, we have the result in discussion.
Hi, good afternoon. Following Humphrey's rule, Q method elicited 3 factors that are higher than 0.10. Hence, we generated these 3 operant factors. Factor 1, the digitally polygonal ball rollers, has 4 all-male members from SDA and SHRIM, representing 16% of the P sample, consisting of participants that are all designers. They are the drum beaters for design thinking. The most agreed statements of factor 1 are statements 30 and 31. You may read them silently. This means that participants of factor 1 rely on their own resources in making something worthwhile. They are prolegomενally initiated and ready to let the ball rolling. Factor 1 gave the lowest score to statements 8 and 19. This means that they don't perceive themselves yet as innovative as people think Benillians are. This may be because only one is in the upper year level who happen to belong to a non-design course. The rest who are designers are in their lower years and might have just started doing something innovative. Further, they see themselves as not yet ready to engage academically in the world of design and are still groping in the digital space. Factor 1 assigned the highest score to statement 5 and the lowest score to statement 22. The statistical data reveal here that design thinking enhances creative and critical thinking skills in designing a prototype meant to transform the lives of the people who will use the product. Further, they never think of themselves as non-techies. Let's have factor 2, the groundswell bootstrap designers. Factor 2 has 6 members with all schools represented, SDA, SHRM, Smith, and SDG, representing 24% of the P sample. 4 are males and 2 are females. Half of the group are designers. They're all first-year students. They are design thinking buffs, familiar with designing and gaming. What is revealing in the group is that they didn't even know they have the potential to come up with something maverick. Their thoughts are disruptive and they're not afraid to be unafraid. They're all unapologetically passionate about their design and they're swelling with robust ideas. Factor 2 agreed most with statements 18 and 25. This means that for them, design thinking is a learning-altering tool during the pandemic that challenged the way they think of a philosophy subject. In design thinking, they appreciated how they were taught how to be real problem solvers. Most disagreed with statements are 24 and 13. This means that participants of Factor 2 don't need to be fired up as they already are. During the interview, they mentioned that they were swelling with fantastic ideas that make their adrenaline rush. For them, it is not difficult to innovate when you intend to help people. The highest score is statement 9 and the lowest score is statement 22. This reveals that 6 participants of Factor 2 believe they have an upsurge of fresh design ideas that can solve problems for others. They are start-uppers who refuse to set limits to what their minds can imagine. Thrilled and fired up, they are less likely to think of themselves as non-techies. In fact, they are gearing up to conquer the digital world. Let's have Factor 3. Factor 3, the people-centered innovators. Factor 3 having the most number of participants with 11 members, representing all 4 schools again, but with the School of Disciplinary and Governance having the most members, comprised of 44% of the P sample. It's a male-dominated group. 60% are males, 40% are females. And what is interesting in this group is that 70% of its members are non-designers and are taking up non-design courses. Participants of Factor 3 yearn for a better future for people who can benefit from their well-designed prototypes. They all have an epistemological view of design thinking as a human-centered approach, and they are willing to give design thinking a try, all in a bid to put the needs of the people first. Most agreed statements of Factor 3 are 12 and 14. Factor 3 reveals that for them, people are so important that they come first in their decision to design a project. Their self-expression is meant to serve others. They draw the inspiration to design from the people. Isn't that so admirable of Factor 3? Factor 3 disagreed the most with statements 25 and 3. They still think less of themselves as real designers. Willing and daring participants of Factor 3 view design thinking more as people-centric approach that can improve people's lives. Amazing. Salute to Factor 3. Factor 3's highest score is statement 7, indicating that 11 participants of Factor 3 most likely think that design thinking helps them go beyond their comfort zone. Lowest score is statement 22. Like Factors 1 and 2, participants of Factor 3 less likely think that they are non-techies. In fact, as I mentioned in the interview, they are raring to move out of their comfort zone and try something unique and distinguishing. So here are the three operant factors. We have factor one, digitally polygonal ball rollers. Factor two, we have the groundswell bootstrap designers. And factor three, the people-centered innovators. You wonder how we arrived at the factor names? Aside from basing their names on the distinguishing and consensus statements, we drew on demographics and post-sort interviews to assist us with naming factors accurately. But hey, we have factor four. And how do we make sense of the unflagged participants, meaning those who don't belong to any of the three factors? You know, we did something bold and daring in this research, which no other researchers have done. We decided to group the unflagged participants and examine why they were unflagged. We weaved their social narratives and created their stories. We named them the recalcitrant colliders. Factor four has four members from all schools except SDG. 16% of the P sample, this group does not meet the requirements of commonality based on the assumptions of Q factor analysis. It is a class of its own, hence the term recalcitrant. This recalcitrant group mentioned that their perceptions about design thinking were far different before they discovered what they were capable of doing. Mostly unfamiliar with designing and gaming, factor four participants want to be pushed to their limits as they enjoy this aha moment. And Dean Blythe, please continue.
All right, thank you. Now, what do students say about design thinking? So here you go, you can read it on the screen. So from SDA student coded DGIR, I think it's very helpful during these trying times. It exercises our minds to think of ways how we can help the people around us. Another one also from SDA, coded QFSU-AK, design thinking releases the innovative side of the students. That's from SDA students. Next, we have from Smith students. Coded PJW25, it was challenging and honestly an extremely new experience for me. Another still from Smith, coded H3VL, it helps us see different perspectives and it encourages innovation in our young minds. I could sense the adrenaline rush as they beat the deadline for submission of their FCR. Next, we have from SREAM, QAHK. I think it is very effective method and well thought of design and technique in teaching. Based on my experience, it felt like I was just on a game, leveling up while learning. Very nice. I think it should be implemented more in the future because youth nowadays need a modern yet fun way of learning rather than the conventional by the book kind of learning. Another still from SREAM, coded 70FP, it challenges students to innovate and generate new solutions in solving some of the problems that families are facing this pandemic. Because outside of school, all of us still use critical thinking or design thinking in our daily lives. It was really helpful, especially taking it in my first year in CSB, because I now learned how the process of thinking critically and how design thinking works. I can use this tool to be more innovative in the future. This is why I think it will be used even after COVID-19 pandemic. Then from SDG, OOGWXB7Z, with all this view, I view design thinking as a source of motivation. No, that's from A9OB. I view design thinking as a source of motivation to continue pursuing creative outputs and trying new ideas outside of one's comfort zone. Very nice. So with all these viewpoints about design thinking from our students, it is indeed very encouraging for us teachers to pursue design thinking as an approach to teaching philo courses. When asked if they think design thinking as used in their critique course can be the future of digital learning, the answer is overwhelmingly 94.7% or 95% yes. So, in conclusion, students view design thinking in the following 4 ways. First, DT is empowering students' capacity to design a prototype. That's from factor 1. Number 2, DT is enhancing the latent design thinking skills. Factor 2. DT is encouraging altruistic and people-centered mission. Factor 3. And DT is revealing what is potential in each student and pushing them to their limits. Factor 4, the recalcitrant colliders. Participants of this group load on multiple factors. They are not purely uninitiated to the digital world as factor 1 is, not digital experts as factor 2 is, and not wholly people-centric as factor 3 is. The group had their aha moment at the end of their project completion when they all mentioned in the online survey that their perceptions were far different before the big reveal moment. Factor 4 seemed to enjoy their critique class in sublime innocence and pure joy. Indeed, design thinking introduces our students to a world of surprise, awe, and wonder. To continue, they view design thinking in making their FCR as pressuring, though intriguing, unnerving, though encouraging, and challenging, though rewarding. And finally, we want to reiterate that design thinking is not solely for designers nor for gamers. This is for those who have a shared understanding of where their design thinking projects can contribute the greatest impact on others. It is a process even the most traditional thinkers can adapt. So, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Blay and Dr. Alma. That's an insightful research. Thank you for gracing our event, Dr. Blay and Dr. Spartines, and for sharing your expertise with us. Your research definitely enlightened us about the students' epistemological views on design thinking and existential experience in their teaching coursework. As our appreciation for the knowledge you've shared, can we have a warm virtual applause for Dr. Blay and Dr. Spartines? Can we give some applause? Okay.
I couldn't agree more, Sir Idan. Through our esteemed speakers' research rather, we learn to have a deeper understanding of and greater appreciation of design thinking in improving our crafts and how to better serve our students. So big thanks to Dr. Blay and Dr. Espartines.
Okay, so
Truly, we're grateful.
yeah, so after the presentation of Dr. Blay and Dr. Spartines, I think you have some questions in your mind. I think there's something cooking in your mind, no? So now we are now opening the floor for our open forum.
And forum.
We request our participants to make some questions and comments, a brief and a direct to the point questions. Okay, so you may raise your hand or you may put it on the chat box. Okay.
Yes.
We have some questions from our participants and maybe to our co-faculties also. Nakakamangha yung study ni Dr. Blay at ni Dr. Spartines.
Spartines,
Mixed method, di ba? Okay,
There's a comment here. But I was told that this webinar was showcasing elevator pitches. Yes, yes. After this, we'll be showcasing the elevator pitches of our students.
Okay, you have some questions from our students or maybe to our co-faculty? Sige, habang wala pa. Ako na lang, Ma'am Alma and Dr. Black. I think this is a very insightful research, and I think there should be a continuity of this research. I think maybe this is not a question, maybe a suggestion also. Maybe can we translate it also in a phenomenological study? Possible po kaya yan, Dr. Blay and Dr. Alma? Nagawin natin phenomenological study.
Dean Blind, let me answer that. Okay, Sir Aidan, that's a very beautiful question. Actually, we started with qualitative study. We interviewed the students, and then we translated their responses to this Q methodology. So that means that if you want to do phenomenological, which means it's like a qualitative study where you make an interview of the students, like how they did, they experience design thinking, that's also possible without using the Q methodology. If you don't want the quantitative method, that's perfectly fine. And you can really do that using phenomenological. It can be a narrative inquiry. It can be, purely phenomenological. It can even be just a case study without the quantitative part.
Thank you, Dr. Alma.
There's a question now in the chat box coming from Cyril Carl Karandan. So the question is, what do you think are the hindrances of design thinking, and how can we resolve these hindrances?
Okay, just a quick answer. It's a very good question,
Yes.
actually. Like in any pedagogical tools, there will be benefits and there will also be hindrances. I think the hindrance that we encountered while doing this design thinking approach would be the limited time that we give our students to perform or come up with their project. Because we started with the introduction, like creative thinking, critical thinking, and other skills now. And then we introduce design thinking on the 9th week, 10th week, 11th week. And so it's just a little time for them to do the project. And of course, design thinking would really entail a lot of ideating and prototyping. And so perhaps if we just allow more time to introduce design thinking to the students, maybe even after the midterm exam, probably they would have more time to come up with better ideas.
Thank you, ma'am. Maybe we can actually have critical thinking 2 courses. Okay, who else then? Meron pa ba tayong question? So could we have a copy of webinar presentation? I think you can actually watch it again through the YouTube. Through YouTube, rather, yeah.
I think there's one question here from Wyman. Wyman is MicroThink student. He said, how can we teachers and students spread the design thinking for other people so that they may help in improving the societal issues, since they see the problems or live with the problems on a day-to-day basis? Wyman, that's really a very good question, because that only means that you are really prone to helping people, which is actually what design thinking is. Like what Dean Baby Bly mentioned earlier, that the first thing that you have to consider here would be empathy. And so whenever you do design thinking, there must really be empathy. You empathize with people because you go where they are. And so indeed, if we only develop this design thinking, it's not just in MicroThink that it's applicable. And I think the proposal of Chair Dino is to even introduce this to theology professors so that even students in theology can do design thinking for the FCR. And I think, it's more fitting in theology subjects because these are the students that are really geared towards helping others and improving the lives of
Yeah.
people. Yeah. And so if you're just sensitive with what is happening around us, definitely we would be able to come up with different designs on how to help people. Then, babes, any thoughts?
Yes. Actually, we did not present the recommendation, but actually it is in our recommendation to make design thinking mainstream rather than peripheral.
Yeah,
Mm.
perfect. Yeah.
So, any other questions then? Okay, there's one question here. Coming from Bianca May, Elpides. Hello, good afternoon. What are your tips for someone who feels like they don't have a lot of creative ideas?
Okay, again, quick answer to that. It will now be the task of the professor to encourage them to come up with beautiful ideas, for sure. Okay, for sure. Each one of us will learn from each other and will be able to elicit beautiful ideas, because if you want to help others, definitely those ideas will come up. I think there's one
I
question
always say-
also here.
Yeah, I think
I'm
there's
sorry.
another question here.
Yeah.
From Julito Buquilla Jr.
Yes,
The
our
question
co-teacher
is-
here.
the question is, could those codes you use be simplified?
Si Dean Babes. Sige.
All right. Actually, because Q methodology is very new for us, although it has been it existed for some years back. However, in the Philippines, very few research use Q methodology. No, so I am yet to see one. So it needs the codes should be defined. No, actually we have some definition of terms, but because of time constraint, hindi na nga namin nagawa. Now, the students use codes because we want to protect their identity. So that's why in the report, in the research, in the paper, we use only codes. We did not put the names of the students. That's to protect their identity. We can simplify the codes. Siguro another webinar.
And in addition to what Dean Bly mentioned, the codes that we use that she mentioned earlier, these are generated by the software. So we didn't invent that. That was already generated by the software. And that's why this PQ software is really very helpful, because they generate the codes for the students. So when we invite the students to participate, they're already given these codes. So, Julito, hindi namin pwedeng masimplify kasi talagang galing sa software yun eh. Okay, but of course, we can come up with our own. It's just that maganda yung codes na binigay ng software eh.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Alma. Maybe last question? May mga last question pa ba tayo for Dean Bly and Dr. Alma? Last call? Okay. Maybe baka iniisip niyo pa ba yung mga questions, so maybe you can send an email to Dr. Alma and Dean Bly for your questions pa naman.
Sure.
Okay, again, thank you, Dean Bly and
Thank you.
Dr. Alma Espartenis for sharing your thoughts. Okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
thank you. So again, let me remind the participants to fill up our student feedback form. Okay, so you can see now the
You can
link
scan it
and
now.
the QR code.
Okay.
Okay, I think we are ready to proceed to our second highlight of this webinar. namely the much awaited virtual exhibit of this termed critical thinking innovation project. Our critic students and of course their critic mentors prepared for this virtual exhibit. It was actually a challenge to select my class entry considering the many awesome projects of my students. Speaking of the selection process, can you walk us through the selection of exhibit entry, Sir Alan?
Yes, sir. I bet all the critic mentors share the same sentiments in entry selection. So how did it go then? So first, the critic FCR for exhibit entry should be the students or group innovative demonstration of critique course learning outcome in the form of human-centered design solution implementing design thinking and other creative thinking frameworks. Second, the project or output may be designed or created using any media or format. Examples are low or high fidelity product prototype, website application, services, action-oriented advocacy, performance, art portfolio, literary work, blog, short film, song, etc. And lastly, the FCR of the students must be presented and recorded in a 1-minute elevator pitch to be submitted as their entry for the exhibit.
Thank you, Sir Alan. So I think the audience are curious about the theme of our exhibit for this webinar. Okay, so for first term 2022-2023, the Students Design Challenge tackled the theme Climate Crisis is a Human Rights Crisis. So with the following sub-themes, let me read. Discovering ways to build sustainable resources, designs, communities, infrastructures, and space. Promoting ways to communicate, collaborate, or reach out to people and protect all other living creatures affected by the climate crisis. Next, developing sustainable or indigenous arts and culture, optimizing science and green technology to mitigate crises. The fourth one, challenging and recreating systems, values, laws, or practices that pose a threat to humanity and the environment. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And there you go. So what are we waiting for? Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we present to you the outstanding innovation projects of these terms, the critic students. So we get to play the first 4 videos.
The first floor. Okay, let us acknowledge the brilliant and creative minds behind the projects and the mentors of our outstanding critic students. Okay? So ngayon, mapapanood na natin yung mga gawa ng ating mga estudyante.
Yes, this is very interesting, sir.
Yeah, ito na yung much awaited. Ito yung tinatanong kanina. This is the exhibit. Okay, so I think check lang yung ating. Okay.
No land, no life. Preserving the balance of our biodiversity has always been the indigenous way of life. But without their lands, the culture, practices, and livelihood of the local people will die. Thus, it can lead towards the destruction of the forest itself. Pero kalipunan ng kabataan para isunang ang pangangalaga ng katutubong kalikasan. Our mission is to promote the significance of the Philippine ancestral lands and why we should preserve their plantation practices. And with that, we are inviting you to participate in our community teaching program with its complementary recycled sustainable learning resources, which is really an informal journal. By knowing the importance of the land practices and preserving our biodiversity, it can also help us address the need to end corporate land grabbing. While our general vision centers the Philippine Aboriginal sector, the main benefactors of our advocacy will start from learning the current practices and situations of IPs in Ifugao and teaching it to our chosen community, which is Balik-Balik Sampaloc.
Certainly able for this to happen, we are in partnership with Katribuli Youth, Kabataan para sa Tribune Pilipino. to organize the call for volunteers and fundraising, which costs 5,000 pesos to produce 100 pieces of Lumpiang jewelries. For recommendations, the possible effects of this project on societal perspective is cultural assimilation and the assessment to the communities regarding the Aboriginal issues and implantation practices. On a national level, the current biodiversity problems caused by corporate land grabbing can be further introduced as a governmental concern. These can be translated into a global level through future researchers of other countries to introduce sustainable and long-term solutions when addressing the importance of native biodiversity. As expressed, we are looking forward to seeing the effects of this project. Again, we are Kalikha, defending lands, defending lives.
Okay, thank you. Before we present the second elevator pitch, let me introduce the students behind this project. Okay, so actually this is from my class. Okay, so let me introduce the students: Alday Christensen, Alejandro Destiny, Armovit Natalia, Balderas Kobe, Bartolome Ameco, Bunagan
Noah the
Sandra,
Life.
Gonzalez Christine, Kabatana Austin. Okay, so this is from my class. Okay, so next we have the next elevator pitch.
What if you could build up your savings and save the environment at the swipe of a screen? Many still don't know how to properly segregate waste or understand upcycling potentials, which is why I would like to introduce Crashback. Crashback can get users a cashback on trash. Given this incentive, we hope this motivates our clients to properly segregate or upcycle their trash. What does Crashback do? The app scans trash and users earn points depending on the amount of trash scanned per day. These points are used for rewards such as coupons or additional cash. Notable features would be Plant a Tree, where clients can donate and earn points and services, which gives advice on upcycling and starting sustainable business. Partnering with NGOs and trusted banks, we hope to contribute not only building savings, but also promote proper waste management, teach the importance of upcycling, and reduce global warming and deforestation. It's time to take action with Crashback, crash landing, and cash backing on waste management.
I'm Amanda Chua.
I'm Andrea Lopez.
I'm Amanda Pagirigan.
I'm Karine Lasabia, and we're Team Crashback.
Wow, that's Crashback. This is from the class of Dr. Alma Espertines.
Online
So
stores
we have
are everyone's best friend, but their prices? Not really.
What if we told you we can offer something better?
Billville is a free mobile app that offers one less purchase at a time at your favorite stores.
With one tap before you check out, the Billville app will scout the internet for discount voucher codes.
You also have the choice to donate or keep the voucher. It's up to you.
With the alarming increase of malnutrition rates in the country, Billville seeks your help. But how can you make a difference?
Billville has an app mini game called Billville Village. It grows bigger every time you choose to donate. It is a game where helping is the cost of greed.
With Billville, you can turn shopping into an active movement towards zero hunger.
Billville. Save a pocket, save a life.
Okay, thank you. This is the Zero Hunger. Okay, this is came from Mr. Arnold Malayo class. Okay, so the people behind this project is Guevara Mark, Ilagan Ulrika, Felix Victoria.
next we have the Fantastic Foundation. Oh, nice name. Fantastic Foundation.
Tragic news befall us every day, arriving to us from our smartphones. So much is going on that we don't even know where to start. We start to feel helpless and disconnected. Even if we do want to act, hectic schedules and heavy workloads do not permit us to participate in change. But what if there was a way to help the environment, the country, and yourself included? The Farmtastic Foundation offers services that can deliver your choice of crops to your doorstep, locally sourced to support local farmers. All profits are going to help our fellow Filipinos and the environment. Charity, reforestation projects, wildlife conservation, everything else that needs to be done to make our future farmtastic will be pursued with your help.
Wow. That's coming from the class of Dr. Eva Aurora Kaluwag. And the person behind this fantastic foundation is Luis Tamayo. So can we have a show of virtual hand and cheer for the first batch of our featured projects?
Okay, let me show your reactions. Can we give him a virtual applause? Okay, so ako papalakpak na lang dito. Thank you for your innovations, for your project. Okay, so I think this is the time also to to showcase the rest of the terms FCI
Yeah.
entry.
So
Okay.
let us acknowledge then the brilliant creative minds behind the projects later as we get into first it's kalikha, no? Ito yung susunod. You know what, sir? Sobrang very creative yung mga minds ng ating mga estudyante.
Yeah, that's true. And I think they are socially aware of what is really happening to our country and to our society today.
Yes.
Even in this world, right? So yeah, they flash
We
in
have
the
now
screen.
the project Gaia.
Okay, so the technical team is flashing the credits for the
yeah.
first
Okay.
group or entries. Okay, so now we're playing the project Gaia.
What If is an app tailored for engineering firms, building planners, city planners, LGU. With just a click, engineers can create a 3D model of their planned building to see if it affects the surrounding environment.
Introducing Project Gaia, a software where engineers and city planners can come together to plan construction building and create 3D models of their projects in their desired areas. With the use of a satellite from Pag-asa, Project Gaia will analyze the sewage system made alongside the 3D models and see if the construction will affect the city in any way. We aim to provide accurate information, more options for engineers on how to go about the planning stage, and data that the LGU and city planners need for scrutiny. Project Gaia challenges anyone involved in the construction project to be more transparent and critically consider the implications that may arise in the long run when important factors are ignored.
The target beneficiaries are not only the LGU and the engineers, but also the citizens who are living close by to where the building construction will take place and in low-lying areas prone to flooding. We need 4 to 5 programmers, an engineer, and a city planner with intimate knowledge of how the sewage system works and how it can affect low-lying areas prone to flooding. The impact on a societal, national, and global level is that it will push city planners to scrutinize building plans, promote transparency, and encourage safer options for the construction process.
Grabe, very futuristic, sir, no?
Yeah. Okay, so for our next elevator pitch, the indigenous. Okay.
What if there was a way for us to help and uplift the Filipino indigenous people today in our digital age? Indigenous people in the Philippines have been around for centuries. They have sustainable ways to protect their ancestral land and the environment as a whole, making them the best people to lead conversations against climate change. So we are happily presenting Indigenius. Indigenius is a Chrome extension that allows people to gather up points by using social media apps. It tracks the clicks made in said apps and turns them into collectible points. These points will be converted into trees or funds that will benefit the indigenous groups. Rather than uselessly scrolling through social media, this Chrome extension will allow ordinary people to help indigenous groups of the Philippines with just the power of their clicks. The extension will also feature a section of its website to show the culture and joy of the indigenous people, allowing users and audiences to learn more about them. To help with the funding and distribution, the project will partner up with certain foundations. The resources needed are human resource. These would be specialized people who will create, maintain the extension and the website. They will also monitor and maintain the funds and donations. Resource and reliable research material about the indigenous people of the Philippines, contact and communication with the indigenous people and foundations, and a source for tree seeds, saplings, and land areas where they will be planted. Societal, national, and global impact of this project is helping uplift indigenous voices through funding their projects and seminars. Amplifying their voices helps spread their practices that are beneficial for environmental awareness and fight against climate change. This has been Indigenious. Thank you for watching, and we hope you have a nice day.
Okay,
Genius.
thank you.
Yeah.
So our next is the Klima Project.
Our innovative approach is to use our creative expression to create a human-centered concept for this project or advocacy. In this project, our group combined its ideas to produce a useful and timely method of communicating our intentions.
The orthodox of the Klima Kit project is to keep the people always prepared for natural disasters and emergencies, making sure that their needs would be sufficed in their time of need while being eco-friendly at the same time as well.
This project is meant to address the needs of children and families belonging to under-resourced and/or vulnerable communities, providing them immediate response to urgent needs in situations where local market solutions might not be readily accessible or available.
In order to successfully complete this project, we will require packaging materials that are both durable and can be reused, as well as emergency supplies.
This project will impact the Filipinos in a societal way that guides them to not only be alert and to think critically at times of emergencies and disasters, but to also remember to take action.
There you have it, Klima. That's for my class. From my class.
Thank you. So I think we should give credit to the people behind those projects.
Yes. So for the
They will flash the name. Okay. So for the project Gaia, it's from ODGF4 from Miss Janina Vedrino. Okay, so we have Cruz, Kenneth, V. Samuel, Mancao, Joaquin, Samaniego, Donita, Villaflor, Ivel.
yes. And for the Indigenious ODGE1, coming from the class of Sir Ruel Senio. So we get to have De Jesus Maxine, Stregan Justine, Rogonay Josean, Moratala Johan, Merto Almira, and Cortez Alexis.
Okay, for our last but not the least, coming from the class of my co-host here, Mr. Alan J. Natividad. Okay, the Klima Project, the people behind the Klima Project are Alcira Isha, Cano, Halvard, De Los Reyes, Eddie, Mabasa Daniel, Mauhuhay Francis. Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Mauhuhay, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So truly, our Benilde students' creativity and innovation skills are undoubtedly embedded in their DNA. And this is true talaga. If you agree, can we show our appreciation to our students' efforts to one virtual cheer? Okay.
Yes, we may hit the clap, heart, and body reaction. Show some love, Vidaljans. And a round of applause to our esteemed speaker and participants. Yeah.
Napaka-creative ng ating mga Benildian students. Hanga ako,
Yeah.
you know what? Ang galing nilang gumawa ng mga apps or maybe some statements, etc., etc. Ang galing. Okay.
They
But
can
now we're
even
going
think
now to
outside the box, maybe.
Yeah, they're thinking out of the box actually. Okay, now so we are now going to our closing ceremony. As they say, all good things come to an end. And we are now heading to the conclusion of the program. But before, at this juncture, we would like to hand over the spotlight to our SMS Teofilo Chair, Mr. Albino Gonzalez, to present the certificates to our esteemed resource speaker and student participants. Take it away, Sir Dino.
Yes, sir. So we now present the certificate of appreciation. Let me read the citation. The La Salle College of St. Benilde, Manila, Philippines, School of Multidisciplinary Studies and Theology and Philosophy area award the certificate of appreciation to our beloved Dean, Dr. Basilia E. Blay, In grateful acknowledgement of her expertise and invaluable contribution as resource speaker in the Design Thinking webinar and exhibit, given on this day, 18th November of 2022 via Zoom, signed by the faculty organizer of Theophilo, Ms. Janine Rodrino, and yours truly, the chair of the Theophilo area. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Dean Bly.
Yeah.
And so it goes also to our colleague in the area. We present the same certificate with the same citation to Dr. Alma Espertines. Again, thank you may not be sufficient to express our gratitude for your generosity in giving us this wonderful input of your research together with Inlight. Thank you, Dr. Espertines.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Dino. We also thank our students for giving us the inspiration to come up with this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. Yes,
Wow.
thank you po.
Yeah.
Of course, as mentioned, we would like also to acknowledge our students who really participated in this activity. Their names were already mentioned a while ago. Congratulations and thank you. Congratulations also to their respective teachers who mentored these students to come up with this final course requirement of Critique class. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Dino. And
So again,
yes.
they're flashing the titles of their projects and the people behind those projects. Okay? Thank you, students. Thank you, Benilton students. Okay, again, let me remind you again about our student feedback.
feedback form, right?
Okay, may we remind our students to accomplish the student evaluation form for your attendance and webinar insight. The link is sent through the Zoom chat, or you may scan the QR code and access the Google form. Make sure to submit your feedback within the day. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And finally, we may call Professor Ruel Rito Senio to deliver our closing remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we were able to listen to the sharing of the very interesting research of our very own Dr. Alma Espartides and our SMS Dean, Dr. Basilia Bly, which presented their examination of the epistemological views of some critique students regarding the use of design thinking in their philosophy course. The study concluded that design thinking in higher education is viewed as a valuable platform for improving the student learning experience during and beyond the pandemic as they navigate the future of digital learning. The webinar was followed by the virtual exhibit showcasing select critique students' elevator pitches, which are design solutions as part of their final course requirements. This culminating activity today is an avenue to demonstrate the convergence of design thinking research and the students' creations to validate the effectiveness and learning outcomes of the course. We, your professors in Crithink, apologize that we cannot exhibit all the elevator pitches of all the groups and the sections of or in Crithink for lack of time this afternoon. But rest assured that we, your professors, appreciate all the time and effort you have placed into them. Indeed, the GE course Crithink is aptly named. Crithink is not just critical thinking, but it is also creative thinking. We have seen that the creative outputs of our students showcase critical thinking, originality, innovation, and creativity that offer solutions to existential, moral, and social issues today that are responsive to the needs of the times. We can see that amidst all the fake news, the fallacious posts, black propaganda, and negativity in the world, and especially in social media, you and I can choose to do otherwise and use our reasoning and creativity to effect social change in our society for the common good. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
Okay, thank you so much, Sir Ruel, for the beautiful and inspiring message.
Yes, yes. Okay, now I think before we go, may we invite everyone for a photo opportunity so we can actually show our beautiful faces.
Okay, picture. Smile, people.
Smile.
May we request Miss Ira, please? Those among you who are comfortable having their cameras switched on, we highly appreciate it. Miss Ira, you now have to
10
give us the cue.
slides po. Yes po. First slide. Keep smiling po. 1, 2, 3. Second slide po. 1, 2, 3. Third slide. 1, 2, 3. Fourth. 1, 2, 3. Fifth. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay na, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
Miss
you, Miss
Ira.
Ira.
Okay, thank you, Miss Ira. So we would like to express our serious gratitude. Thanks to our speakers and exhibit participants. Likewise, to our Teofilo faculty members and CITIC faculty and students. Thank you for giving us your time this Friday afternoon. So that's up the Terms Design Thinking webinar and exhibit. Once again, thank you everyone. Special mention as well to all the people behind the camera and the event organizer. Thank you and cheers. This has been your host, Mr. Aidan Jan Roman.
And Alan J. Natividad. Have an extraordinary day ahead of you. Stay safe, everyone. Benil Jan.
Thank you. Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congrats to all the students.
Congratulations to all the participants. And thank you for our STEAM researchers.
Thank you.
On this beautiful Christmas morning,
Recording.
everyone